Gerone Wright here, and once again, you're joining me on my Gerone Wright YouTube channel here on YouTube. In this video here, I'm going to be doing a decoding on Renaissance artist Sandro Botticelli. Art painting. And the image here that we have is that of the birth of Venus. And you know, the Renaissance artist era was a unusual era where paintings were created, and a lot of sexuality going on, a lot of abnormal scenarios being presented. But the most important thing about all of this with regards to these the Renaissance era is that none of these paintings were allowed to be sent out into the main circuit or be released, or a artist would dare release such a painting without first having the consent of ancient rooted religion and ancient rooted royalty. And that's why a lot of these paintings were based on and had that spiritual touch to them, or that royal air to them. Okay, because this all of this was approved by these people, and it makes sense because, I mean, could you imagine trying to make something that they didn't agree with back then? And I mean, there was no law. The laws were lapsed back then, and I mean, you get your head chopped off, or you get killed, or label a heretic, or a witch, or demonic person. I mean, you weren't protected as we are today, with freedom of speech and freedom of religion and freedom of your freedom to express. So this image is approved of back then by ancient rooted religion and ancient rooted royalty, which actually supported it. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pope didn't have this in his archive images, or hanging somewhere there in the Vatican, or and there in a royal palace, because this is what this was all about. Well, Sandro Botticelli, I know that one of his paintings, the name escapes me right here at this time, and I can't think of it. Primavera, which means spring. Okay, by Botticelli. That image as well, I had decoded, and that actually has made it onto our 10 top list of most strange and unusual and mystifying paintings. And Botticelli work, I found to be just like that of anybody else's work that actually has this hidden higher knowledge of this secret, or should I say secret hidden knowledge. You mirror this image and it creates a motion picture. These people did motion pictures with their paintings, and that's what this is all about. To mirror this would create a motion picture, and that's where we're at with this. One of the many mirrored images that my mirroring tech guy Mike made for me. In mirroring is this image right here. I can see, well, the one that stands out the most, but I can see a monkey, I can see a lion. Oh, I can see many things, but the ones that stand out the most to you is right here. And there's a head of a cow. There's the eye, nostril, mouth. Let me bring that in closer. I actually have an enlargement of this, and I want to show you something. And on the center of the cow's nose, where the hands come around, it's holding you the head, the beheaded head of a Nubian person, an African person. Kind of sort of reminds me of the cartoon with Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5 cartoon. That's what that reminds me of. And you know, amazingly, one of the things that Michael Jackson had in his cartoon was his pet snake, which appears back there. There's a snake right here. So it's amazing that you have a cartoon image of Michael Jackson, and in Michael Jackson's Jackson 5 cartoon, Michael Jackson's best friend was the snake. So you have Michael Jackson and you have the snake, the image of Michael Jackson. Well, don't think that I'm going off track here, because Michael Jackson had the knowledge to all of this. And in fact, Michael has his own impressive artwork or art collection that he commissioned to be created, which I'll get on at a later point. But I found that Michael Jackson was genetically altering himself as well too. And I don't want to get sidetracked. I don't want to go into much detail about that. So it shouldn't surprise you that we're arriving at this. I'm going to bring in a closer likeness of this image. And there we have it. The face of the snake, mouth, chin, eyes. That Nubian figure, which I described as looking like Michael Jackson, not being Michael Jackson, okay? Michael Jackson should not have been born in that era. However, through my cult affiliations with the knowledge of this, Mike actually fashioned himself to be in describe or the description of these ancient rooted genes, which is created by ancient rooted religion and ancient rooted royalty. And this is why a lot of Michael's stage performances were done so in a way where he had royal clothing on, and implications of morphing from one face and likeness to the other. It doesn't matter if you're black or white. That video, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. But Michael's entire music career is based on that of the Renaissance art era. Not just Michael Jackson, but I found it to be the same thing with Lady Gaga and Madonna, the Kiss guy, Gene Simmons. A lot of these people, actually the Beatles, they based this Renaissance art era thing that creates this, that is based on this. They took it and transformed it into a music scenario. It's in television today, in our cartoons, in our adult tunes, our adult cartoons with Bart Simpson and Family Guy and Cleveland Brown show. I mean, it just goes, the list goes on and on and on. I was just watching Planet of the Apes last night, and the new movie release, and even in that, it's this stuff. It's just it just goes on and on and on. You know, two shows that I watched last night. I didn't turn the TV, but 2 times, and in both times, these types of images and the message is all relating to an ancient rooted cult, an ancient rooted religion that shows how mankind has been genetically altered, and where these genes can be found today. People, this is Botticelli's painting. I guess it would be from the 1800s. I think his paintings is older than that. I have to do my homework on that, so don't hold me to that. It could be earlier, later or earlier. I don't know. So let me not go there. But the fact of the matter is that these images should not be appearing in this artist's work. This knowledge is not known to mainstream scientists today. And here this artist has monkeys, images of lions in here, cows, showing you how through the genetic bridging with these animals, with our African ancestor, which is appearing here, the Caucasian likenesses and genes of Caucasians emerge from out of this, and it's describing these genes. Now, people, let's not be simple and let's not be stupid here, because ancient rooted religion, that's all that is in discussion about royal bloodlines today. And then look at ancient rooted royalty. Now look at ancient rooted religion. Ancient rooted religion has this thing where they're saving themselves through what they call describing as celibacy, and they're not engaging in sex. They're saving themselves, their semen lines, their bloodlines. But when in fact, behind the scenes, these cream of the crop bloodlines where the ancient rooted religion have created through nun monasteries and these temples, these religious temples, what has happened here, people, is that they have created cauldrons to where ancient rooted religion and ancient rooted royalty comes together and manipulate bloodlines, and they have the cream of the crop because they have selected individuals through virgins and boys and women alike, and have brought them together and go in and pick from that crop the blood that they want, the semen that they want, and they actually mix it in cauldrons. And this is the result which is being described here. If you look at this, you can see where the snake is there, where these eyes becomes that and the eyebrows of a monkey head created in there. An ape would be the ape's head, the ape's mouth area here. So this likeness transformed from the cow in the middle, the ape on the outside. There's a lion in there on the outside as well too, showing you that this cauldron of genes altered the genes of the Nubian, of the African, and called for the change which came later with Caucasians, which emerged from Asians. People, this has nothing to do with God. This has nothing to do with Adam and Eve, but rather an ancient rooted gene which I know the direction of. And even before there was this, and you see that the snake always appears, and even before it was that, there was something else. You can even see here where there's the woman in the face here. You can actually see a Nubian man. Now check this out. There's the Nubian boy there. You can actually see a Nubian man here as well. I'm on his cheek. There's his nose. There's his eye. There's his forehead. There's his mouth. There's his lips. There's his chin. I can draw you his face right there. I'm on his jawline right there. You see that? And this is in the eye of the cow. There's a cow's eye there. Notice that the cow's eye is created, this man's mouth and nose, this Nubian man, is right there in the cow's eye. Look. This is what this is all about, people. Multi-dimensional images, which described a holy genetic grail on how mankind, or should I say mankind's true genetic evolutionary passage into becoming who we are today. And right today, people, there is a gene manipulation and altering going on with us. And those that are involved enjoy the status of being worshipped by you, being tax exempt, collecting upon you, utilizing your money through a fear tactic to further a manipulation process that actually is going to cause for the mass destruction of the many of our world's population. Surely you don't believe that if this is not shared with you, if this is not in your knowledge, and they have fooled you to believe that you have miraculously emerged from angels from heaven, then people, don't you think that I am on point with telling you that what you do not know and what you do not understand, you are not a part of, and therefore you are being lied to about who you truly are. You don't know what you're supposed to eat. You don't know you don't know how you're supposed to evolve. These creatures that they're describing here, lions, monkeys, and in some cases horses, these cows, they graze in pastures and do just fine. We're eating meats and other byproducts that we're not supposed to be eating. There is a problem here, people, and these animals migrate from one location to another. For the most part, we sit still. So there's informations that come from this, which are life-saving informations that describe what you should actually be doing based on the genes and the DNA that the creatures that cause for your becoming are being shown here. They're not telling you this, people. I have to go. I'm going to end this video here. I'll put more in writing. Rooted religion and ancient rooted royalty. And that's why a lot of these paintings were based on and had that spiritual touch to them, or that royal air to them. Okay, because this all of this was approved by these people, and it makes sense because, I mean, could you imagine trying to make something that they didn't agree with back then? And I mean, there was no law. The laws were lapsed back then, and I mean, you get your head chopped off or you get killed, or where paintings were created, and a lot of sexuality going on, a lot of abnormal scenarios being presented. But the most important thing about all of this with regards to these the Renaissance era is that none of these paintings were allowed to be sent out into the main circuit or be released, or a artist would dare release such a painting without first having the consent of agent, or label a heretic or a witch or demonic person. I mean, you weren't protected as we are today, with freedom of speech and freedom of religion and freedom of your freedom to express. So this image is approved of back then by ancient rooted religion and ancient rooted royalty, which actually supported it. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pope didn't have this in his archive images or hanging somewhere there in the Vatican, or Gerone Wright here, and once again you're joining me on my Gerone Wright YouTube channel here on YouTube. In this video here, I'm going to be doing a decoding on Renaissance artist Sandro Botticelli. Sandro Botticelli, art, painting, well, and the image here that we have is that of the birth of Venus. And you know, the Renaissance artist era was a unusual era, and they're in a royal palace because this is what this was all about. Well, Sandro Botticelli, I know that one of his paintings, the name escapes me at right here at this time, and I can't think of it. Primavera, which means spring. Okay. By Botticelli. That image as well, I had decoded, and that actually has made it onto